what is the legal status of establishing the Khilafah? When we check the works of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, they mention the communal obligation on the Muslims to place an imam, a leader, who is made a caliph, a khalifa, who protects the borders of the Muslims. Now there is a job description of this khalifa, which is mentioned in the works. But when Muslims think of this today, they say this is a fantasy. Again, this would go back to associating a misconception with khilafah. Meaning, why do they think this is a fantasy? They would say, we observe Pakistan and Turkey and Iran, Saudi Arabia, other countries. It is a fantasy for you to think that there would be one ruler who rules all these countries. How do we respond to this objection? We say, when you think of the EU, European Union, in Brussels, do they not elect one person to rule over EU? Is this not how EU is ruled? Or the United States of America, do they not elect a president to rule 50 plus states of the United States of America? Who said that if the Khilafah was established, we would do away with Pakistan? Of course, ISIS do not help with this, because what ISIS did when they ruled segments of Syria and they ruled segments of Iraq, they said no more borders. These are borders which were established by colonialists. Yes, this is true to a degree. But even during the time of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh, they did have regions. Meaning, there was the region of Khurasan, which was one of the last regions conquered by Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh. They had different regions, the region of Iraq al-Ajam, which is modern day Iran, Iraq al-Arab, which is Kufa and Basra. They had the Hijaz. The Khilafah was segmented and governed by different governors. So, if two states, meaning two countries like Pakistan and Turkey, which are the two best candidates, why? Because they have the same school of thought, Hanafi school of thought, meaning the most possible scenario, Pakistan and Turkey. They have Hanafi school of thought and they are both Maturidi, and both majority population follows the way of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Let's say these two countries come together in an alliance and say we will elect a person who fulfills the conditions of a Khalifa. The president of Pakistan can remain in Pakistan. The president of Turkey can remain in Turkey, but the Khalifa overlooks both states. Is this a fantasy? I ask you, is this a fantasy or is this a possibility? The answer is, it is a possibility, but two things are missing. One is awareness. Meaning awareness of this obligation of the Khilafah. And the second one is the absence of education, meaning people are not educated regarding the correct concepts of Khilafah. So when people say Khilafah is a fantasy, they are mistaken. One person, he went to Indonesia or Malaysia, one of the countries, and I observed his interview, and he said to the people, do not listen to those who call for Khilafah. You have a beautiful country here, you have a beautiful system of governance. He associated revolutions with Khilafah, because he said, if you call for Khilafah in this country, this would necessitate revolutions again. The association of revolutions with Khilafah is a misconception. Who said that those who are calling for the Khilafah in those countries are calling for the toppling of the state and civil war? This is a misconception. Yes, they may be calling for a reform of certain things within the government, but this does not entail civil war and mass killings. And the person said, Muslims are not obligated to establish the Khilafah. In reality, the books of Aqidah, the books of belief mention that this is a fard kifaya, which is what a communal obligation. This obligation falls upon a group of people known as Ahlul Halli wal Aqd.